Hello. I am very delighted to be here. I'm Poetic Heretic, and tonight we will be looking at Judgement card, which I have right here, also known as the Aeon card. So, while I am getting the stream set up, I would like to make just a few preliminary remarks, as I usually do, but I'm making them now. I would like to remind people that I do not belong to any occult orders or organizations or anything like that. I'm coming into all of this from a highly individualistic perspective. These are all my thoughts and opinions. I am Poetic Heretic. First and foremost, I am not a devotee of tarot, shall we say, first and foremost. And so some of my opinions may differ from perhaps some of even the popular opinions out there on tarot. I don't know. We shall find out. Or at least as far as this card is concerned, we shall find out tonight. We have to give the advertisement a moment to play. We have some distortions on my screen. Okay, clearly we sound all right. Okay. And in addition to that, I'll remind people that the order of business tonight will be the usual. I will be first giving my interpretation and analysis of the card, a summary of essentially everything I know about it, what I've come to know it to be, learn it to be, what it means in terms of human consciousness, as well as what it means in terms of its divinatory meanings. And once I have done that, we will analyze other interpretations, look up and analyze other interpretations. And if there are any comments or questions from the chat, I will be taking those as well on the material that we are going over. So remember, this is not my sitting here telling anyone what to believe. My advice is that you make up your own mind. And in fact, I'm here to have a discussion. I'm not here to tell anyone the way it is because I don't know. There are so many things about tarot that I still don't know, and about other subjects that I don't know. And so we are here to have a discussion, an interesting, exciting, hopefully, discussion about it. All right, so let's see. I've with my analysis of the card. Actually, no, let's say Judgment Day is here. Just say that. Okay. People may wonder what that is. Then they will go to click on it, and they will see. They will see what it's about. Except for those for whom Twitter displays the preview. But anyway, I'm getting distracted now. So yes, that's the order of business. Not really a whole lot else to go over beforehand, I don't think. We'll be looking at, as always, both surfacey and deeper, more esoteric meanings and interpretations, and everything in between. So hopefully there's something for everyone who has an interest in tarot in this stream. And it should be a very, very good time, and I'm looking forward to it all immensely. So, with all of that said, let's get started. First, we'll be looking primarily, I would say, at the Rider-Waite version of the Judgment card. And maybe I'll hold it over here. So, what does this card mean in terms of one's spiritual journey and human consciousness? Well, this is an area that I still know very little about, and so I'm not going to say much about it for this particular card. We'll get into it more later. But if I had to theorize about it beforehand, I would say it most likely represents some kind of culmination, some kind of moment of truth, some kind of perhaps threshold almost, or again, culmination of one's journey so far. You know, this is the last card in the sequence of the major arcana that is full of so much intensity. The next card, the World, also known as the Universe, is by and large a very happy and celebratory card. You know, it's the end of the journey. It's the conclusion. It's the happy celebration. It's more than that, but that's, you know, kind of the general vibe most of the time. So this is like the last really intense card of the major arcana. So that's what I'd say about that. Of course, some might relate it to, I don't know, the idea of like Judgment Day, maybe in more religious terms or whatever. Perhaps we'll come across some of that. But yeah, this is another card in the major arcana where, to be honest, coming into it, I just don't know much about what it means in terms of human consciousness of one's spiritual journey through life. So I'm just going to leave it at that, and we'll get more into that as we go. Now, as for the divinatory meanings, that I can tell you about. Judgment card, it talks about the raising of buried content, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, destiny calling. What else can we say about it? Exploration of the deep, dark unconscious, the hidden realms, and stuff like that. Perhaps even the idea of karma coming back around, and that may or may not show up in what we look into tonight. I don't know, but let's see. That's primarily what I think of it. Do I think of anything else when it's the Judgment card and I get it in a reading? Well, it is the card of the sun meets Pluto is how I think of it, because it's ruled by both the sun and Pluto. And so the sun, astrologically, is the light of our awareness. It's our awareness, our conscious mind. And then Pluto represents all that is powerful, as well as the deep, dark unconscious. And so it's literally the light of our awareness or our consciousness meets the darkness of our subconscious or unconscious, and illuminates that and brings forth that content. That's primarily what I think of when I get this in divinatory readings. That and, well, the other stuff I said too, but that's probably one of the biggest things that I consider. Is it's like the sun meets Pluto. So when I get it reversed in a reading for myself or another, usually I'll think of, well, okay, this could be a deception. This could be someone not being in touch with, or perhaps not being willing to get in touch with these deep, dark parts of themselves and transform them, not willing to face that. It can also be not seeing the big picture, a failure to see the big picture, being hyper-focused, not seeing the forest for the trees, as they say, when we have this card reversed. I feel like there's one other thing about that I wanted to say. What was it? Oh, what was it? Going right along with that. Like having tunnel vision, having too narrow of a focus. Tunnel vision would be another important aspect. But of course, we'll get into so many more divinatory meanings as we go. So yeah, That's the Rider-Waite version. The Crowley-Thoth version looks like this. This is it. And it is known as the Aeon. And in Crowley's interpretation of the tarot, this has to do with his whole thelema thing that he was about, and the Aeon of Horus, essentially, that he believes we either were entering into or are already in. I actually cannot quite recall which it technically is, but it's about the Aeon of Horus. And so we'll be getting deep into that very soon. So as you can see from the, wrong way. As you can see from the Roman numerals, it is card 20 of the major arcana. So only one more to go after this. And so numerologically, that's going to reduce to 2, second house of money and finance, as well as interpersonal relationships, stuff like that. Now, personally, I almost have to actually question how significant that is with this card, because it's never really struck me as that significant, but it might also be something that I'm just not realizing at this point. And so hopefully we'll come across more about that. How much does it relate to the second house, and perhaps also card 2, the High Priestess card? Well, hopefully we'll find out. Though the High Priestess card, I guess it's fairly clear to say that there's definitely going to be some parallels there, because the High Priestess card is also all about the unconscious and those sorts of mysteries. But it's like in that card, you haven't accessed them yet. The High Priestess stands before the veil of the unconscious, whereas in this card, it's all out in the open. It's all just wide out in the open. You can see them rising from the ashes. That's another thing I should have mentioned before with the divinatory meanings. You could say that as well. Indeed, like the phoenix rising from the ashes of annihilation, these figures are. And so that can come into play a lot in readings as well. And of course, well, you would only have to look at the Sun-Pluto connection to know that this card is also going to have some connections to card 13, the Death card ruled by Pluto. So, but perhaps we'll get more into that. I don't know. We shall see. Other than that, let's see. This card is going to be linked to, let me just double check this in my mind before I go saying it for sure. Yeah, it's going to be linked to card 9, the Hermit, via the Kabbalistic Tree of Life. And so there's could be some commentary there, the Hermit often representing the end of the journey, and a certain culmination as well, which I am saying that I think this card is about largely also. And let me think anything else with that. Well, the Hermit is also going to be one who peers into knowledge as well at times. And this card certainly is peering into the subconscious or unconscious. But again, as usual, I'm not going to get deep into the potential correspondences there. I leave that to the viewers if they would like to do on their own time. So anyway, that concludes my summary of the Judgment or the Aeon card. And so now at this point, we are going to begin looking up some interpretations, and I will analyze them and tell you, do I agree or disagree? Can I add to it? Or anything in between? Hang on a second. Got my V8 Fusion juice right now. Still having to be all healthy because we're recovering from this stress condition recently, or whatever the hell it is. So, all right, got Judgment loaded right there. Give me just a moment or two, and we shall resume. So yeah, I'd also say this card though, I mean, if you really want to be basic about it, you can look also at the name of the card, Judgment, and interpret it in that way. Like, oh, having good judgments, just judgments. And also, I guess with the numerology, well, for the hell of it, let's not forget that so 20 reduces to 2, and card 11, Justice, 1 plus 1 is 2, and so it's also going to be connected and likely have some correspondences to the Justice card, which is also about good and fair judgment and stuff like that. So let us keep that in mind. All right, everything looks good here. My view counter keeps going up and down, up and down. Glad to see I'm back. Thanks, Lumen. I'm glad to see I'm back to you, and I'm glad to see you here. It's good to be back. As I said at the beginning of the stream, I am very delighted to be here. So, we will begin first, as usual, with the Biddy Tarot ebook, which has kind of a mix of surfacey and deeper meanings. So I think it's a good place to begin and see what we think. All right, here we go. Judgment. Description. Here we see the magician, Hermes, in his other aspect as the guider of the souls after death. The angel is Gabriel. The 7 lines coming from the trumpet are the 7 tones of the creative word that liberates mankind from his worldly limitations. The solar cross, again, symbolizes balance. You can see some of these symbols here. I'll hold it up while I'm reading this. All right. The man symbolizes the conscious mind. The woman is the subconscious. The child represents the regenerative personality. The sea is the ultimate goal of the stream that began in the high priestess. The snowy mountains in the background represent the height of abstract thought. The planetary ruler of this card is Pluto, the ruler of the underworld. The rune is Ansuz, A-N-S-U-Z. This card can be used as a meditation and visualization tool to help increase your ability to perceive situations from a broad perspective. This is the symbol to use to increase your ability to judge situations impartially. And you know what I just thought of also, though, as I guess I can just look at it on my screen while I display it here. About this card, though, is I don't think I've ever thought about this before, but if you look in the background, you can see like the what appear to be some icy mountainous peaks, perhaps, or maybe they're supposed to be glaciers. I don't know, but they actually resemble in some ways the mountains of the Fool card. And it's interesting because we're getting very close now to the end of the major arcana. You know, just one more card to go, and then the Fool brings it all back around. So I wonder if there's a connection there as well. I wouldn't be surprised. But anyway, meanings. Judgment tells you that you have reached a significant stage in your own journey. With its theme of awakening to new life, it suggests that you have assimilated past experiences and learned from them. This integration has healed any, I think it's supposed to say wound, that you may have sustained, and you are now in a position to place the past behind you. Okay, so yes, definitely, absolutely, I agree with that. The idea of integration, considering that this card is, again, in my thesis, the Sun meets Pluto, is going to be a huge aspect of this card. In fact, I'm surprised that I forgot to say that in my summary. Yes, integration, absolutely a huge aspect of the Judgment card. Let's see, now where were we? Your memories no longer taunt you. You are able to value what has happened to you and what it has taught you. Now you are ready to confront any unfinished business in your life, clear up any misunderstandings, and view the future with peace in your heart. Judgment often indicates decisions, but unlike those associated with logical justice, these require a delicate blend of intuition and intellect. You know that a choice must be made and are facing it with maturity and level-headedness. Your own judgment is impeccable at this time. You can trust it completely and know that you will set your feet on the right path. Finally, judgment can signify a gentle breakthrough in your life. Balance restored. You feel fresh vitality and optimism now. Excellent. Cosmic forces are going to correct the situation, but this is only the first step. There is still the possibility of defeat unless your cooperation is continued. What is meant by cooperation is your determination to persevere without immediate results, and to allow the power of the infinite to penetrate your consciousness and lead you into that which you desire. You will have to cope with feelings of frustration, impotence, and ingratitude. Count your blessings. Focus on the present moment. Do what you can with what you have. More hard work is needed before you see results. A frustrating person may become involved. I'm almost not sure where they're getting some of those meanings with this card. Frustration, impotence, and ingratitude. I don't get it. Count your blessings. Still don't really get it. Focus on the present moment. Maybe, but I still don't really get it. Do what you can with what you have. Maybe. More hard work is needed before you see results. Okay, perhaps a frustrating person may become involved. I don't see how that fits in at all. See, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like some of these interpretations, they'll almost just give you like common life advice that actually doesn't have anything to do with the card, or at least that's my sneaking suspicion anyway. I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think? Does that paragraph sound like it has much to do with the Judgment card? I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something here. Judgment relates to the necessity of decision. You are faced with a choice, and the time has come to deal with the questions before you. Time to take action toward developing your greater good. The card also indicates an inner awakening, the beginnings of a new way of living and experiencing the world. Something which was lying dormant within us, some unconscious knowledge or truth, is finally being awakened and brought into the light. The Judgment card has positive and negative aspects. In the positive sense, we are being awakened from a long sleep, a period during which we lacked clarity, and now insight is dawning upon us in a psychic rebirth and resurrection. Those are very key words, I would say, as well. Yes, rebirth and resurrection for the Judgment card. Absolutely. In the negative sense, we are being called to account for past actions and to justify in the light of truth what we have done in the past. Judgment is a time of reckoning, a time of bringing to light those things which were hidden. We'll see the day of reckoning, as Within Temptation would say. The psychological process of self-revelation often brings relief and joy, yet it is often a difficult process in which we encounter darker aspects of our personality which were hidden out of fear or self-defense. What are the choices and challenges you must face as you encounter the card of Judgment? Most importantly, what is your judgment of yourself, your own self-appraisal? Judgment can also I don't know what this is supposed to say. Judgment can also perhaps indicate raising up out of a bad situation, especially when reaching for a higher purpose, such as having a child. It talks about exercising good judgment. Is this the right time for having a child? Awakening to a new truth or a new perspective? Is there something they haven't tried? Adoption, maybe? Letting go of value judgments that are holding you back? Are others criticizing them for trying to have a child now? Preparing to enter a new phase of their life. Are they ready for this? Interesting. Yeah, a new phase of life, preparing to enter a new phase of one's life. That makes sense a lot with this card too. Some people get in the way, no worries. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Might as well just let them say what they say, I guess. On card 20, we see people rising up at the call of an angel. It is Judgment Day, when the faithful are brought to heaven. But what about those who are not saved? Have they been judged and found wanting? For their sins, will they be denied the presence of God? It is this aspect of judgment that is unsettling. How can judgment be reconciled with forgiveness? In fact, judgment comes in two forms. The hurtful kind says, what you did is wrong, and you are bad and worthless for having done it. This type of judgment separates and leaves no room for redemption. It is possible to judge without condemning. We assess the matter, weigh all sides, and try to discern the truth. We recognize the need to choose and hope for the courage to do so wisely, but without blame. In readings, card 20 can be a reminder that judgments are necessary. Sometimes you must decide. At such moments, it is best to consider the matter carefully and then commit yourself without censure. If you are being judged yourself, learn from the process. Take what is of value, correct what needs correcting, but never lose sight of your own worth. When the angel calls, you are reborn, cleansed of all guilt and burdens. The past and its mistakes are behind you, and you are ready to begin anew. You may even feel a calling, a personal conviction of what you are meant to do. If you are in a low period, in need of hope and absolution, judgment can show you that renewal is at hand. You may be awakened to new realizations. New ideas will help you make better decisions in life. There could be a renewal of something that you had in the past, but it had little value at the time. Want to bury the past and start fresh, and/or want to know whether or not to invest time or money in a new relationship or enterprise. Things are going to change, and you will have a change of consciousness for the better. Reckoning. You need to evaluate past actions to become more aware of who you are and of your ultimate goals. This reckoning may surprise and may lead to endings, beginnings, and the resurrection of things once thought dear or resolved. Let's see. You need to evaluate past actions, become more aware of who you are and of your ultimate goals. This reckoning may surprise and may lead to endings, beginnings, and the resurrection of things once thought dear or resolved. Yeah, the Judgment card is like a day of reckoning. So again, we'll see the day of reckoning. Keywords: judgment, rebirth, inner calling. So I almost sense like there's something more I want to say about this card. And let me see if I can pinpoint it in my mind right now. So as I mentioned earlier, it's like the sun meets Pluto. And so there is indeed this sense of renewal that comes with the card. And it's like, you could also say that perhaps it can be about an acceptance of what is, an acceptance of the resistance that you have in you, and probably in the context of this card, that maybe you've had in you for a very, very long time. But as is something that I often talk about on these streams, and indeed with these cards of the major arcana, is that in accepting the resistance, you transmute that energy and you feel the relief of that. You transmute it into light, you transmute it into pure positive energy, and then you are much more easily able to allow things to work out from you from that point forward. And I know to some it may sound like I'm repeating myself, but this kind of knowledge and awareness bears repeating. So acceptance of where you are and acceptance of resistance lifts that off of you. It allows that momentum to slow down, and from that still satisfied point, you can then begin positive momentum, and things can work out for you much faster and much more easily without all of that buried content, all of that resistance that previously was slowing you down, that had gone unprocessed, essentially. And so that's really what it's all about. And I think we've seen that. Well, no, I know we've definitely seen that in the major arcana for so many cards now, ever since probably the Hanged Man card. Like it seemed like practically every card, or almost every card, has been about this in some way, shape, or form. The freedom that comes with that releasing of resistance. And so that's what I'm always an advocate for. And do remember, dear viewers, that one of the best ways to do that is through meditation, something I've been doing a lot of lately. Poetically beautiful. It is. That releasing of resistance, and we see it again here in the Judgment card, through acceptance, making peace with what is and making peace with where you are. So I just want to throw that in here so that it is emphasized. All right, so now let us continue. Reversed. Reversed, the card suggests that you may be indulging yourself in doubt and self-judgment. Your deliberation is causing you to miss new opportunities that await. Ooh, yes, that's also something that is very key with Judgment reversed, is the idea of missed opportunities. That does ring a bell indeed. A certain amount of momentum has accumulated behind what you have achieved, which could propel you further. If actions are taken now, such momentum will not be lost. Therefore, this week is not the time for being cautious or introverted. Rather, it is time to move onwards with confidence and pride. Fear of death and failure to find happiness. No interest in spiritual things. All right. Well, so let's talk about this for a moment. So it says here, a certain amount of momentum has accumulated behind what you have achieved, which could propel you further. If actions are taken now, such momentum will not be lost. Well, momentum is not really, ideally anyway, about action, though. Momentum is about getting your thoughts and your emotions, your vibration, essentially, in that more pure place, again, releasing resistance and then allowing the momentum to naturally increase. And then action is inspired from there. Like action, I will certainly agree that action is a part of momentum, that action does indeed can contribute to momentum. But if you're relying only on your action to keep momentum going, then you're going to bump into the very thing that this card is telling you to become familiar with so that you don't bump into resistance. Buried psychological content, whether it be something as extreme as trauma or something less intense than that. So I just want to throw that out there. And then let's see. It also says fear of death and failure to find happiness, no interest in spiritual things. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. There's some additional potential reverse meanings. All right, so that concludes that source of information. You're having to make peace with your grammatical errors, Lumen. I see. Sometimes I can be very particular about grammar, but never to the point of having to get everything just right, which is good. I'm already OCD about enough things. I don't need to be OCD about that as well. So give me just a moment or two, and then we're going to analyze further. Okay. I feel like I'm just naturally wanting to keep myself kind of calm tonight so that my body is not stressed any more than it has to be, so I can continue on my way back towards health. So let me just say, speaking of judgment and a day of reckoning and stuff like that, it really sucks when you're going along and just like bipping along, enjoying your path of following your excitement, everything. It really sucks when you suddenly get like unhealthy, and then like all of that excitement is called into question, and you're like, oh no. Like, I was enjoying things so much. Now, if my health doesn't stay strong, I won't be able to continue having fun with my life. Like, it really freaking sucks, basically, is the point I'm making. But at the same time, everything happens for a reason. And so I know that, like all things, I mean, I mentioned this in recent videos, but I'll say it again. Like all things, everything is working out for me. So I wouldn't even manifest a health challenge in the first place if it wasn't for the purpose of getting me to where I ultimately want to go. And so I'm not really worried about it. It's like, damn, I was having so much fun, and then I kind of had the rug pulled out from under me slightly. But again, not really. It's all right. It is ultimately to my benefit and facilitating many changes that I've wanted for forever, probably. Anyway, the first result we're getting here with our internet search this time around is keen.com article on the Judgment card. Let's analyze what they have to say. All right, let's see here. Go shopping. Well, if my health had been good enough recently for me to do things to make money to spend on shopping, I totally would have. All right, so let's continue. Are your days of sitting on the fence done? Have you found a reason to keep living? Are you feeling refreshed and looking forward to moving on? Has a casual interest turned into a dominating philosophy of life that you are pursuing as your true calling? Are you able to brush aside the ambiguities and obfuscations of the past and clarify exactly what it is you have been through? When the Judgment card arrives in your tarot reading, it is time to take a stand as the hardest choices become obvious after the simplest of appraisals. The top half of this card is a depiction of an angel blowing his horn. In most tarot decks, his large wings are astride wispy gray and white clouds, out of which his arms extend to clasp a large golden horn, upon which he is pressing his lips. Wait a minute, his large wings are astride wispy gray and white clouds, of which his arms. I guess that makes sense. Seems like there should be a comma in there or something. Attached to the musical instrument is a square white flag with a red cross. The illustrated lines emanating from out of the trumpet indicate that Gabriel is blowing his horn. Beneath him, the graves of the departed have all opened and the dead have begun to rise. The landscape is in almost monochrome blue-gray in contrast to the red wings, the fiery orange and the yellow hair and the colorful horn and flag of the angel above. This is the scene of the Last Judgment as described in many mythologies. In the end times, the archangel Gabriel will blow his trumpet and summon the dead to rise. They are about to meet their maker and discover whether or not they are to spend eternity in heaven or in hell. There is an absolute nature to the final judgment or legend that is imbued in the Judgment tarot card. When this card appears in your tarot reading, be assured that absolutes are about to take place. Wow. Absolutes. That also makes sense when we consider the Pluto rulership of this card, all or nothing Pluto. Pluto and its all or nothing energy. So yeah, absolutes. The idea of that which is absolute, that which is all or nothing, will come into play in this card, both in terms of consciousness and divinatory readings. Let's see. Gonna make a donation tomorrow. Your PayPal account is fucked up. Well, thanks so much, Lumen. I appreciate that. Never feel like you have to do that, but that said, any donations, I'll be sure to use that money wisely as always. Like right now, what was the next thing that I was wanting to get to enhance? Yes, a windscreen. It's called a foam windscreen, not a pop filter. No. A foam windscreen to put over my microphone, basically, that will filter out background noise and make the audio quality clearer. Because right now, as far as I can tell, YouTube is having to filter out background noise when I go live so that you don't hear it, but then that decreases the audio quality. So if we put a foam windscreen over it, then that's going to make it so the microphone doesn't pick up the background noise to begin with. So audio quality will be improved because YouTube won't have to mess with it as much. Again, theoretically. All right, meaning in past, present, and future positions. When you receive a tarot reading, the cards are pulled from the deck and placed before you. The pattern of cards is divided into 3 areas of meaning: your past, your present, and your future. Again, as always, I have to say, not all tarot readings have past, present, and future positions. Landing in one area can bring out select parts of a card's true meaning and will be subtly different from an appearance in a different area. When Judgment appears in the past position, you made a big decision to go along with one way of thinking. This might have been in your youth, or it might have been a few weeks ago. This card does not guarantee that you made the right decision. Your current foundation rests on having taken a particular path, and the results of this decision may be the reason you are seeking a tarot reading. Regardless, you may be defining who you are by the decision you made in the past to follow a certain calling. Now you are taking stock of where you are in your life in relation to where you want to be because of that big move. In the present position, Judgment is reflecting your internal conflict about making a big decision. The finality of this choice is quite apparent to you, even if it seems small to others, and is perhaps even dismissed by those close to you. Wait, so why is my brain not understanding these words? So let's see. Judgment is, in the present position, Judgment is reflecting your internal conflict about making a big decision. Okay. The finality of this choice is quite apparent to you, even if it seems small to others, and is perhaps even dismissed by those close to you. All right. The presence of this card can give you little guidance over your choice. While many tarot cards have a sense of inevitability about them, the Judgment card in the present position is powerful in that your free will is on the line here. All this card represents is that the decision you are about to make is, in fact, an epic one. Yeah. So to put it into very, very, very simple terms, big moments and big decisions, definitely a huge aspect of this card. So let's see. An especially powerful placement of this card is the future position. When Judgment is here, the murkiness, guilt, burdens, and misery are about to go. A coming incident will allow you to finally see the possibilities. It will be like you have been a ghoulish zombie in a graveyard of your own creation, and the sudden blowing of a trumpet will pull you out of your stupor and give you a second lease on life with a definite sense of purpose and an obvious direction. All right, and so yeah, that does make a lot of sense because with these figures like rising from the dead, essentially rising from the ashes, rising from the dead, it is like zombies, and the idea of zombies could perhaps even play into this card. If there's ever going to be a zombie apocalypse, well, this would probably be one of the main cards to foretell it. If anyone could foretell it anyway, I don't know. Maybe we're not allowed to know such things, but I'm being somewhat facetious. But anyway, I serve those who serve me. Thanks, Lumen. I agree. I know what you mean, actually. Like sometimes I'll be watching some of my favorite like streamers or YouTubers or whatever, and they'll be like, "Thank you so much for watching." I'll be like, "Well, thank you for enriching my life." It's like you don't need to thank me. I'm kind of selfishly going about my own desire here. But, so I think I know what you mean. Let's see. You bought a lottery ticket. You never gamble except today. Oh, maybe today is your day. I like you so much. You're perfect. Oh, I'm not perfect. Don't be silly. No, I don't know what to say to that. I strive for perfection, but I am far from perfection. But I don't know. Maybe it's my OCD nature. I have no idea. It's like maybe as much as that can be a struggle, like it can also almost push me into trying to do every little thing right. And so maybe it has some positive aspects. I don't know. But let's see. Card combinations. When your tarot cards are dealt, they do not stand alone. They speak as a group. Indeed, they do. The presence of various cards has an influence on what other cards in a reading will mean. The Judgment card is numbered 20 in the Tarot's major arcana. It is most closely related to the other two cards that end in 0, the Fool, card number 0, and the Wheel of Fortune, card number 10. Huh. Sorry, I have an itchy nose. I did not think of that before. So with it being card number 20, yeah, it's also going to be connected to the Fool, card 0, and the Wheel of Fortune, card 10, known in the Thoth deck as just Fortune. Interesting. I did not think about that at all. The Fool looks at every decision as meaningless. The Wheel of Fortune divides up the times in our lives into ups and downs, and Judgment completes the themes by calling us to a most critical juncture in order to move on. And so maybe my theory earlier about is there a connection between the apparent icy mountains in the background and the mountains on the Fool card could have some credence or validity. Let's see, where were we? The cards ending in 0 make the evolution from ambiguity, represented by the Fool, toward the universe having a random impact on our lives, the Wheel of Fortune, and finally to our personal decisions and the weight they have on our own destiny, the Judgment card. When either the Fool or the Wheel of Fortune is in a reading with Judgment, the road you choose will have a lifetime of positive reinforcement about it. So let's really let that one sentence sink in, though. So the cards ending in 0 make the evolution from ambiguity, represented by the Fool, toward the universe having a random impact on our lives, the Wheel of Fortune, and finally to our personal decisions and the weight they have on our own destiny, the Judgment card. Interesting. So from ambiguity to universe having a random impact on our lives to our personal decisions and the weight they have on our own destiny. The Fool, the Wheel of Fortune, Judgment. This is good stuff. This is some good stuff. All right, so let us see here. Let us continue. When Judgment pairs up with the Hermit card, a relationship that is in the final stages will result in a productive period of being single. The opposite is true if the Lover's card is present in a tarot reading. Combined with the Judgment card, a marriage or live-in commitment is in the works. When the Temperance card is combined with this card, a decision to quit drinking or doing drugs is imminent. The step of sobriety is a giant leap epitomized by the Judgment card and made possible by the Temperance card. Wait, so let's see. The step of sobriety is a giant leap epitomized by the Judgment card and made possible by the Temperance card. Yeah, Temperance is all about that reconciliation of opposites. It's all about a sort of, perhaps you could even say dilution, maybe. It's all about alchemy. When the Five of Swords is in a reading with Judgment, a decision to go at it on your own has at its roots a desire to spite an old acquaintance or family member. I'd say that's an accurate interpretation. Independence will not be as you imagine. When the Ace of Swords is in a reading with Judgment, expect to give an interview, legal testimony, or lecture that has a profound impact on the lives of many people. While this could be a highlight in many people's lives, a moment that carries such import is almost an ordinary occurrence in the routine of an ordinary occurrence in the routine of a school teacher. And what the hell does that mean? While this could be a highlight in many people's lives, a moment that carries such import is almost an ordinary occurrence. What does that mean? Let's see. Maybe it's supposed to be like is almost as an ordinary occurrence. But what does that even mean? While this could be a highlight in many people's lives, a moment that carries such import is almost an ordinary occurrence. Oh, wait, no, I think I get it. Jeez, sometimes I just don't get things. So it's like saying that, okay, in the routine of a school teacher, like having very powerful moments like that is just a regular thing. Like it's just saying that it's just a regular thing to have big important moments for a school teacher. And it's giving that example, I guess, because yeah, the Judgment card talks about big important moments in our lives, but for some people, just because of the nature of their lives, they're always having like big important moments, I think is basically what they're saying. Interesting. Let's see. Shell Oil is my biggest tipper at Churchill Downs. Very cool. $100 handshakes from Mint Julep. Wow. Thanks for the in-depth video. This one's been coming up for me a lot lately. You are very welcome, Elizabeth. It's my pleasure doing this. All right. So let's see. I guess I should clear my notifications. And okay, let's finish this up. Judgment's impact does not portend that this is a unique occurrence that can happen only once in a lifetime. The presence of this card may mark one great turn of events in your life, but you are just as likely to have many others as you are none at all. The card carries no weight as to how often a big change might occur, only that its impact is absolute and influential. Reminds me of something I read one time, and that's the end of that article, by the way. But about this idea of rites of passage, which I think was a term identified by, was it Carl Jung, if I'm not mistaken? Or maybe it was another like great psychoanalyst or psychologist or psychiatrist or something. I'm not sure, but I read one time that this whole idea of rites of passage, like these big moments in your life, which I guess would tie into the Judgment card, for some people, because of the nature of their existence, of the kind of lives that they live, instead of having just, only a rite of passage every once in a great while in their lives, having relatively very few in their lives, such individuals have these rites of passage on an almost ongoing basis in their lives. And I thought, boy, that's interesting. I sure would like to know about that some more, understand that some more, but I don't think there was any more information on it from what I recall. But, it's interesting. So now, let us move on to our next source. I've got to say, you guys, it feels so good to be back live again. It feels so good to be back here. The next source is trustedtarot.com. Like I can definitely feel like within my physical body, like I need to be very careful not to exert myself. And so I guess if any trolls came in tonight, unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to engage with them. I'd just have to, ban them outright just because I have to protect my physical health at this point. But regardless, it does feel really good to be back. So, judgment, change, decisions, success, transformation, upheaval. Judgment's meaning. Judgment tells a story of transition, but unlike death or the tower, it is not sudden change or born of luck or intuition, but change that springs from reason. It signifies plans, often long in the making, coming to fruition. If it points towards the future, it may also speak towards the nature of the change. If there is a choice that needs to be made, Ruminate and let your mind guide the decision. Logic, in this case, is a better guide than intuition. Be prepared to make a major decision in your life, likely one that will shape the next chapter of your life. It's an interesting word, ruminate. I've heard some say that that can be a negative thing to ruminate over things, but I don't know. It's almost kind of like the word mull, perhaps. Anytime that I've had an extended amount of time to think things over, I always end up feeling better about them, but maybe that's just my experience. So I don't know. Don't sell rumination short, I guess, is what I'm feeling intuitively inspired to say. Past. Your past is full of good work, but the process of your liberation from those experiences is ongoing. You are beginning a new chapter in your life. Present. The present has arrived and the past is relinquishing its hold on your fate. This is the best time to change an element of your lifestyle. Future. The fruits of your decisions are coming and you will receive that which you deserve. The path at your feet and the direction it is leading, you are clear. You will see your ultimate desire through to the end. Yes, no key interpretation. The Judgment card is representative of some sort of change or transformation, likely one that has already occurred. It could mean the presence of a spiritual or professional calling and making decisions that will lead to your success. The answer to your question is yes. All right. And then it just notes that it's ruled by Pluto, which indeed it is. Indeed it is. I got your back. Thank you, Lumen. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's like, geez, I will literally have to not engage with any trolls or anything like that to preserve my physical health. It's like, geez. It's like, imagine that, don't want to have a heart attack here on stream from a troll coming in. It's like streamer killed by a troll or something. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm sure I'll be fine. I've been ruminating for weeks. See, there you go. Ruminating isn't always a bad thing. It has been very helpful. Yeah, I think it's just when it's done in an unhealthy way, I suppose. That's the only thing you have to worry about. Yeah, I think ruminating can be perfectly healthy. So one moment, and then we will continue to the next source. I think we'll look at one more website, and then we're going to dive into the Thoth version of the card, and that's where, as always, things get about as deep as they possibly can get. So next up is psychicrevelation.com. If I can get the screen to look just right here. Jeez, it's so tricky. Okay. Tarot card interpretation and meaning, 20, Judgment. Introduction. Judgment can be a card about jumping to conclusions, decisions, and of course, judgments, which are too hastily made. If you are prone to such things, this is a clear signal to slow down and give things more thought and to give people, quote unquote, more chances. This can also be a time of fundamental spiritual awakening. General. In general, if you are the one tending to jump to conclusions, you can put a stop to it. If others are making these kinds of decisions about you or about someone you care for, there is really very little you can do apart from realizing that it's their problem, not yours. Work. Your efforts are being watched, so this is an important time to put in extra effort and for paying attention to detail. The news ultimately is likely to be good. If you've been trying hard and doing your best, your efforts are very likely to pay off. If you've been slacking off, now is the time to get with the program before any permanent damage is done to your career. I disagree. If you have been trying really hard, that's usually an indicator of being out of alignment and your results will not be so good. If you've been slacking off, well, that's also an indicator of being out of alignment, and so your results would also not be good. The key is to get into alignment and then let your natural hard work come from that. That's what I'm doing here with these streams, by the way. This is not work for me, at least not really. It's fun. To others, it may seem like work, but to me, it is fun. That is the key. Love. If you're already in a relationship, this can be a make or break period. This is a time to get very, very clear about what you want out of life and out of your relationships, and then take steps to make it come about. If you are seeking love, a new relationship may come about in the near future, but you may need to take steps to make sure that you aren't leaping to conclusions, positive or negative, about your new love and or vice versa. Slow and steady wins the race. Finances. Money and contracts will be headed your way now. Things should be on a very important positive upswing. Don't speed or violate the law now, or you could end up paying a hefty ticket/insurance rates. Caution will pay off. Interesting. Yeah, that kind of reminds me of the risk of obsessive thinking that can come about when we're dealing with anything having to do with Pluto. And so again, this Judgment card is like the sun meets Pluto. It's ruled by the sun and Pluto. And so in a negative sense, if whether in a reading or just throughout your journey in life, when we're dealing with this card, be aware of and wary of the risk for obsessive thinking. Health. This is an important time to let go of the past and any wrongs that you perceive were done to you, particularly if you're dealing with chronic medical issues. Letting go of your need to be right will go a long way toward helping you to feel better. Besides, if someone did you wrong, then they did wrong, and you don't have to stay angry at them to prove that they were wrong. Think positively. I'm sorry, I just kind of have to laugh at that because that's good advice, but it's just, that's going to be good advice sometimes for some people and basically bad advice at other times for other people because everyone's in a different place, you know. Sometimes even though that might be the more objective viewpoint is, yeah, if someone did you wrong, then they did wrong, and you don't have to stay angry at them to prove that they were wrong and that you should think positively. Sometimes people are not in the place where that is actually going to help them get anywhere. Sometimes people have to process their deep, dark content a lot more. But other than that, I basically agree. Yeah, like letting go of your need to be right will go a long way toward helping you to feel better. Yeah, because most people, as Abraham often says, most people would rather be right than feel good, ironically. Which you only want to be right because it feels good anyway. That's the real irony of it. So anyway, spirituality. You may find yourself exploring ideas in spiritual directions that you never thought would appeal to you in the slightest. Furthermore, you may find more truth and wisdom there than you ever dreamed. Be open to new ideas and new experiences. They can benefit you in ways that you can't imagine, and you'll never know unless you try. All right, so that concludes that article. So now we are indeed going to dive into, in just a moment, the Thoth version of this card. Give me just a moment or two. True about the needing to process angry feelings sometimes, especially if you're used to internalizing anger. Exactly. That's exactly right. Like, if you have a lot of anger buildup, it really does you no good to just try to ignore, suppress, or deny that, or to just try to even rationalize it away. It's much better to process it in one way or another. And again, that processing, though, doesn't have to be something that's so hard or anything scary or anything. Even just regular meditation could help someone process things like that and train themselves into being more calm and at peace and relaxed, as I've been doing recently. So we're going to reference esotericmeanings.com now for their article on the Judgment card, but it is, of course, they're known as the Aeon card. Okay, here it is. By the way, thank you guys for being here. Like, even with what I said earlier and everything, it's like, nevertheless, thank you for being here. It's good to know that there are people who want to learn about this stuff, because I like learning about it too, and I guess more or less teaching it. All right, so Thoth Aeon Tarot card. Here we go. And this person's YouTube channel is Thoth Tarot Videos, so check them out if you want more of this information. So, going to be holding this up a lot here, but I'll just present it now as we sort of get introduced to it. The Thoth version of this card, known as the Aeon. Okay. Thoth Aeon Tarot card. The Aeon card contains thelemic deities, and it moves away from the Christian theme in the Judgment of the Rider-Waite deck. The 3 Aeons have been outlined in a previous article. The Aeon of the current era is meant to be the rulership of the dual god of Heru-Ra-Ha, the special name given to Horus, the product of Hadit and Nuit. So, a couple of things I want to say about this already. So, first of all, we've seen already in the previous cards of the Major Arcana that we've gone through, and when we started analyzing the Thoth ones as well, which I think was, I'm pretty sure we did it as far back as the Lovers card. I think that might have been the first one when we started looking at the Thoth version as well. We have seen how Crowley has made some interesting changes, some interesting updates, perhaps you could say, to the Major Arcana, to some of these cards, and ones that are much more in line with, I guess, his beliefs and his, I guess, religion or whatever of Thelema and all that. And in many cases, like, changes that I would say I agree with. I've found myself agreeing with them. I've been like, yeah, that's much more what I think is appropriate. Whereas the older stuff that we still see in the Rider-Waite sometimes will almost have like a more, like, I don't know, Christian maybe connotation sometimes, and Crowley has basically done away with that, and I think that's probably a good thing. But again, that's just my opinion. You guys make up your own minds about that and your own opinions. Now, the other thing I wanted to say about that is, indeed, Horus, the child of Hadit and Nuit, the product of Hadit and Nuit, those were the two universal entities in Crowley's Book of the Law, Hadit and Nuit, with, if my memory is serving correctly at least, Hadit being the masculine energy and Nuit being the feminine energy, which we saw also in card 17, the star, 3 weeks ago. The star, in the Thoth version anyway, being all about Nuit, essentially. So will we see some references to that here? I bet we will. Because I remember when we were going over that card, the star card, this card, card 20, the Aeon, came up when we were going over the Thoth version of the star. All right, then it shows the Rider-Waite, and okay. Thoth Aeon Tarot card and the Tree of Life. Occupies the path between Hod and Malkuth. Hod is the seat of human intelligence as well as harnessed willpower, whilst Malkuth represents the physical world. The Aeon card connecting them implies the blending of energies between the two Sephirah, so we have colon, and now this text is set aside in special font, so here it is. The evolution of human consciousness and understanding, Hod, about the nature of our physical reality, Malkuth. Our consciousness becomes more universal as we see the oneness behind creation. Older perspectives are burned away by spiritual fire. That's the end of the special text. So, as usual with this site, that's a lot to take in, so let's read over it again real quick. Occupies the path between Hod and Malkuth. Hod is the seat of human intelligence as well as harnessed willpower, whilst Malkuth represents the physical world. The Aeon card connecting them implies the blending of energies between the two Sephirah. Okay, so wait a minute. So Hod, seat of human intelligence, ruled by Mercury also, by the way, and Malkuth, the physical world. And it's saying the Aeon card connecting them is talking about the blending of those two energies, the blending of the seat of human intelligence, Hod, and the physical world, Malkuth. The blending of, perhaps you could also say, the mind, with Hod being ruled by Mercury, and physical reality, Malkuth. And so we have the evolution of human consciousness and understanding, Hod, about the nature of our physical reality, Malkuth. Our consciousness becomes more universal as we see the oneness behind creation. Older perspectives are burned away by spiritual fire. It's very interesting. And indeed, you can see it here on the Tree of Life, which I'll show in a moment. Right at the bottom left, between Hod and Malkuth. Here that is. Okay. Thoth Aeon Tarot card Hebrew and Elemental Attribution. Hebrew association. Associated with the Hebrew letter Shin. In the Aeon card, it is gold in color, and Horus stands on it as shown below. Okay, which I guess, well, I could show what the article is showing here. I could show the card itself. Show the card itself. So that Hebrew letter Shin is right down there on the card. And if we just kind of look over here a bit, you can see indeed how the figure of Horus is standing on that Shin letter, Hebrew letter Shin. Now, let us continue. Shin means tooth and is the mother letter of fire. The relevance of this element to the card's meaning is discussed in the section below. In the Crowley version, there are 3 figures kneeling inside the yods at the top of the letter. The yods represent fire, and the kneeling figures represent spirit. Right figure refers to father, left figure, mother, central figure, child, which is brighter than the other 2. This Aeon is the Aeon of child Horus. Okay, so let's see here. So in the Crowley version, there are 3 figures kneeling inside the yods at the top of the letter. Okay, the yods represent fire, and the kneeling figures represent spirit. Yeah, which again, you can see there quite clearly on the card. Yeah, look inside the letter Shin, basically, if it's not apparent already. And you can see the three figures. Now, the right figure symbolizes father, the left figure symbolizes mother, and the central figure symbolizes child, which is brighter than the other two. This Aeon is the Aeon of the child Horus. So father on the right, mother on the left, and child Horus in the center. There is an astrological connection here with Libra, as we can see by the arch-like background around the letter Shin. This links the Thoth Aeon tarot card with Adjustment and Mayat, symbolizing that they represent justice, law, and order. So let's see, there's an astrological connection here with Libra, as we can see by the arch-like background around the letter Shin. This links the Thoth Aeon tarot card with Adjustment and Mayat, symbolizing that they represent justice, law, and order. Okay, interesting. So the arch-like background with the letter Shin, I'm looking at it here, and to be perfectly honest, I'm not quite getting the connection. There should be a connection with Libra, it says, because of the arch-like, where even was it? By the arch-like background around the letter Shin. Well, I can see the arch-like background. I mean, it's pretty obvious around the letter Shin. But how does that connect with Libra? I don't know, but let's just continue. Blue and green arches symbolize colors representing Libra. Oh, maybe now they're going to explain. Orange-red arch, the element of fire, with the jagged line representing the activity of fire as an initiator of change. Okay, so we have a couple things going on here. First of all, it's talking about the connection to the Adjustment card ruled by Libra, and it shows that card here, so we'll just show it as well real quick. It's a little refresher. And then again, it says blue and green arches, colors representing Libra, orange-red arch, the element fire, with a jagged line representing the activity of fire as an initiator of change. So see that right there, the arches. I have no idea if it's going to focus for us. There we go. Blue and green arches, colors representing Libra, orange-red arch, element fire, with a jagged line representing the activity of fire as an initiator of change. Elemental association. Associated with fire, shown symbolically in the lower right of the card, which is responsible for purification as the old is swept away to make way for the new. Lower right. I will show that symbol in a moment. This is related to the divinatory meaning of the card, which is major change. It has nothing to do with Christian apocalyptic scenarios and is concerned with the spiritual fire of the microcosm and macrocosm. Delicious. We have books such as those below describing the fire of creation, macrocosm, the universe, and the Kundalini fire, microcosm, in man. Kundalini, that's an interesting subject. I don't know a whole lot about it, but my understanding is that it's essentially one's life force, and what people what people refer to as a Kundalini awakening is really truly an awakening of that life force. But regardless, here is the symbol, the lower right of the card, representing fire. Yes, that triangle. And then it shows, I guess I don't know, these are some recommendations or something to learn more about this spiritual fire in Kundalini. If I can get it to focus for us, one moment. Okay. Now, fire is also a key stage on the spiritual path, which is the same regardless of Aeon, although the overall collective consciousness of man may be unique. For instance, John the Baptist says of Jesus, we got some biblical stuff happening. Matthew 3:11, I indeed baptize you with water unto repentance, but he that cometh after me is mightier than I, whose shoes I am not worthy to bear. He shall baptize you with the Holy Ghost and with fire. And it says this is a representation of one of the 5 planes of consciousness. Okay, I'm gonna need some time to go over this. This is some, I don't fully get this yet. Kundalini energy is a very powerful and destructive force. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about it, so I'm not going to comment on it very much, but indeed I have heard it's powerful. Hey there, Ryan. Welcome to the stream. Perfect way to wake up from a nap. Happy to hear that. I love that feeling of waking up from a nap, and how appropriate, because today indeed we are looking at the Judgment card, all about awakening in a sense. But of course, right now we are on the Thoth version, the Aeon. So, okay, let's go back over this stuff though. So fire is also a key stage on the spiritual path, which is the same regardless of Aeon, although the overall collective consciousness of man may be unique. For instance, John the Baptist says of Jesus in Matthew 3:11, I indeed baptize you with water unto repentance, but he that, well, hang on, let me make sure I get this. I apologize. Key stage in the spiritual path, which is the same regardless of Aeon, although the overall collective consciousness of man may be unique. Okay. And then, I indeed baptize you with water unto repentance, but he that cometh after me is mightier than I, whose shoes I am not worthy to bear. He shall baptize you with the Holy Ghost and with fire. And with fire. Well, basically, I mean, it's saying that fire is, the element of fire is essential on the spiritual path, regardless of who you are. It's going to be there in all of humanity. But the rest of this, I'm not sure I'm entirely getting. So the same regardless of Aeon, although the overall collective consciousness of man may be unique. Okay, well, let's just continue. Let's see. So this is a representation of one of the 5 planes of consciousness. And it's showing, oh boy, there's a lot of stuff here. It's showing like an excerpt from a book. So I'm not going to read everything because there's a lot, but I'll hold it up to the camera, and if people want to check this out after the fact, they can always pause it. Although it's a little bit difficult to make out. It's not just the stream quality, it's the website quality. A little bit difficult to make out some of the words. Okay, so further symbolism of the Aeon card. Star goddess Nuit forms the dark archway in the form of the letter Omega, the last letter of the Hebrew alphabet. This is also described biblically in the book of Revelations. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the first and the last, the beginning and the end. Revelations 22:13. So, Star Goddess Nuit, Dark Archway. Okay, I mean, it's not saying it explicitly here, but I think that would indeed be the blue sort of archway symbol. Unless I'm missing something, I'm pretty sure that's what it has to be. That is the Star Goddess Nuit. And it says, for those wishing to know more about the mystical interpretation, use Bill Donahue, Book of Revelation, Mystical Interpretation. Oh, yeah, wait, it says it right here. She can be seen in the upper portion of the card wand, makes canvas for the stars, having spiral galaxies arising from her. That sentence has issues with it, but she can be seen in the upper portion of the card. So you can see that there. Perhaps it's supposed to say, and makes canvas for the stars, having spiral galaxies arising from her. And so, again, this is going to harken back to card 17, the star card, which was all about Nuit, and her sort of, what was it, I believe, presiding over the universe, essentially, was how she was portrayed in that card. Pretty card. It is. All right, she has a girdle containing spheres, and these represent the planets like the zodiac belt below. During the day, she is once again swallowed up by the sun. She represents unlimited possibility or potential. So she has a girdle containing spheres, and these represent the planets like the zodiac belt below. During the day, she's once again swallowed up by the sun. She represents unlimited possibility or potential. Let's see. I'm trying to see the light here. Put this card in the light. I don't know, but the zodiac belt, you can see right there. Anklets. There are two types. On the left is a spiked pattern representing the formed universe, and these resemble the heartbeat. The wavy lines on the right anklet represent the great formless universe. She therefore contains the all. Oh, I see those. Okay, so these anklets on the left, there's a spiked pattern. So we'll analyze that first. Yeah, spiked pattern representing the formed universe, and these resemble the heartbeat. Hopefully you can all see them there. The wavy lines on the right anklets represent the great formless universe. She therefore contains the all. She contains the all. Hadit. The winged globe of fire between her hands and feet is the top of the caduceus wand. Page 273, Book of Thoth. Winged globe of fire between her hands and feet is the top of the caduceus wand. Jeez, why am I not seeing this one either? Winged globe of fire. Well, it does look like we have some kind of caduceus symbol right in there. Perhaps it is, hang on. Yeah. Hadit is the winged globe of fire between your hands and feet. Perhaps it is that red sort of spherical shape there. I don't know, but let's just continue. All right, now this diagram shows Hadit representing Kether on the Tree of Life. The Veil of the Abyss. Okay, let's take a look at that then. This focusing issue is always fun to deal with. But there we go. All right, let's see. ASMR quality to my streams. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Actually, that's something that I hope that I come across as oftentimes, and one of the reasons is, well, because even though I do these streams for basically selfish reasons, because my philosophy is selfish, if there's one thing that I want to inspire within people, it's the releasing of resistance, which ASMR is essentially the releasing of resistance, in that natural relaxation, that feeling of satisfaction. That is alignment, essentially. And so, I don't know, I started meditating all the time just recently. So, I mean, that might make me a calmer person. So my streams might become even more ASMR-like at times. So I hope, I am happy to hear that people are enjoying that, or at least you are, Ryan. All right, and hopefully other people are enjoying that as well. So, Hadit is also phallic-like, so in terms of sexual alchemy, it shows the penetration of Nuit. He activates her dormant potential, and being winged and phallic-like has the property of motion, and representing Kether has infinite knowledge to release into the infinite potential of Nuit. That was a lot to take in. So again, Hadit, remember that's the masculine counterpart to Nuit, is also phallic-like, so in terms of sexual alchemy, it shows the penetration of Nuit. Again, Nuit, feminine. He activates her dormant potential, and being winged and phallic-like has the property of motion, and representing Kether has infinite knowledge to release into the infinite potential of Nuit. So let's see, he activates her dormant potential, and being winged and phallic-like has the property of motion, and representing Kether on the Tree of Life has infinite knowledge to release into the infinite potential of Nuit. Okay. So it's talking about Hadit being the one with infinite knowledge to give to Nuit, the one of infinite potential. Very interesting. And of course, let me just see something. Well, yeah, of course, in one way or another, we see both of them on this card. Infinite knowledge given to infinite potential, and we have the birthing of Horus. So let's see here. Okay. Horus at the front of the card and drawn as if he were invisible. He is naked, which implies his innocence and child status. His hand gesture on his lip is confused with Harpocrates as the Greek god of silence shown in the image below, which I will show in a moment. So let's see here. Yeah, so you can see that right there. The figure of Horus, pretty obvious. The translucent figure. Let's try to get it to focus. It almost seems like I have better luck getting it to focus. I'm showing the bottom of the card. There we go. Okay, so again, it says Horus at the front of the card and drawn as if he were invisible. He is naked, which implies his innocence and child status. His hand gesture on his lip is confused with Harpocrates as the Greek god of silence shown in the image below, which I will show momentarily, or in just a moment. Horus is the product of the union between Hadit and Nuit, but is known by his special name Heru Ra Ha. His passive side is Hor Par Krat, and his active side I think it's supposed to say is Ra Hor Kuit, as we saw in the previous card, the Sun Tarot card. So Horus is the product of the union between Hadit and Nuit, but is known by his special name Heru Ra Ha. Now that's HERU-RA-HA. His passive side is Hor Par Krat. That's HOOR-PAAR-KRAAT. And his active side is Ra Hor Kuit. RAHOOR-KHUIT, as we saw in the previous card, the Sun Tarot card. Yes, which I had to do as a pre-recorded video, but it was still fun. The Greek version of Horus is shown below as Harpocrates, but I have chosen not to refer to this name as we are studying the tarot of the Egyptians, and also the two are not absolutely identical. Okay, well, for what it's worth, here is that image. Oh, wow. It focused right away for us this time. Wow. So I'm just reading the comments here. So, sticker for a local death metal band on your work locker says I have Horus. All right, that's cool. That's cool. Well, there's so much significance to that. I mean, it's quite the appropriate name for a death metal band, I would say, especially considering how metal often has such an association with Pluto kinds of things, all that is powerful and the raising of buried content. And so yeah, they chose a very good name, I'll say. I have Horus. Horus is probably one of the most powerful occult symbols as far as I'm concerned. So let's see. Actually, speaking of which, I'm getting a little bit too warm, so I'll take my hoodie off. I'll be right back in one moment. I'm wearing my own metal band tee, the Phoenix rising from the ashes. Let's see, wearing You Had Me at Tesla shirt in green. Oh, cool. Yeah, isn't this St. Patrick's Day weekend? I can't believe I don't know that, but I think it is. Interesting. See, this is the easiest way to expand my hermetic research ever. Wish I found your channel sooner. Thank you so much, Liz Porter. Thank you so much. I'm happy that like what I'm doing is being appreciated by other people, because I love to learn and teach about this stuff. And so it makes me really happy that there are people who want to learn about it from me. So thank you so much. They're a really good band. They do a lot of charity work. Yeah, I remember you recommended that I check them out one time. I think that was the band anyway. And I almost did. I was so close, and then I got distracted by something. This is too often the case. But I'll have to check them out at some point. Okay, so golden light. Continuing, golden light. He is solar in character and therefore surrounded in golden light. This again reinforces transformation by fire, which this card is an analogy for. Okay. Yeah, and again, for those who don't know, I'm still relatively new to the Thoth deck, so that's why I'm kind of just learning right along with anyone else who's just learning about this stuff here. But I assume the golden light then is what we see sort of in the background there. If it wants to, there it goes. Again, it says, he is solar in character and therefore surrounded in golden light. This again reinforces transformation by fire, which this card is an analogy for. All right, then let's just move right along to the next symbol. 3 serpents, with one coiled around the third eye region, emphasizing the importance of this for illumination and spiritual growth. So you can see them there, basically right on the head of the figure of Horus. Again, it says, with one coiled around the third eye region, emphasizing the importance of this for illumination and spiritual growth. I wonder if perhaps there can maybe be a Kundalini connection as well with these serpents, since that is so often associated with the serpent symbolism. All right. Horus has a headdress which has 2 horns projecting sideways. These horns are similar to the Egyptian god Khnum, not sure how to say that, Khnum, Egyptian god Khnum or whatever, who is said to have created children out of clay from the banks of the river Nile. Let's see if we can actually maybe even find out the pronunciation of that real quick, since that's part of learning. Khnum. Let's see. Looks like Khnum, if I'm reading the phonetic symbols correctly. Wish it had an audio pronunciation, but I guess it does not. Wonder if there's any relation to the god Kem by any chance. Kenemu. Yeah, I think this, I don't know, don't quote me on this, but I think this might be the same as the god Kem, Khem, which, if I recall correctly, is linked to alchemy, but I'm not sure. All right, let's see. Maybe the H is silent. Yeah, it looks like it's supposed to be pronounced Kenum. But yeah, but the point of that again is that Horus has a headdress which has 2 horns projecting sideways, and these horns are similar to that Egyptian god Kenum, who is said to have created children out of clay from the banks of the river Nile. I'm assuming that's an image of Kenem just below that. When I had to do this as a pre-recorded video with the sun card last week, I couldn't have it show me a mirror image on screen like it does on YouTube without it switching to a mirror image for you guys when you watch it. And so it was so hard to like show stuff like this. It was so confusing. It's so much easier because YouTube basically flips it for me, but they keep it at the right orientation for you. So it's just so for me, it's like I'm looking in a mirror to make it a lot easier to like see myself as I'm streaming, and also anything I show on screen like this. But for you guys, you see me, properly. So let's see. Sorry guys, I don't mean to like ignore your comments. I just want to like have a proper balance, I guess, between this material and reading comments, but I'll read them soon enough, I swear. All right. Curly lock of hair on right shoulder symbolizing youth. On right shoulder symbolizing youth. Oh, okay, yeah, that's pretty obvious. You can see it there. Don't mind us. Okay, good. Yeah, feel free to chat away. Like, don't misunderstand. Like, comment all you want. Just letting you guys know I'm not purposefully ignoring you. That's all. Oh my God, it doesn't want to focus. Well, regardless, it's pretty clear. Okay, there it goes. It was pretty clear regardless, the curl of hair representing youth on Horus's right. Okay. Ra-Hor-Khuit. Active side of Horus, represented as a figure in a throne behind the larger figure. He has the double wand of power in his right hand, and his left hand is empty as he has crushed the universe and nothing remains. This implies the ending of an era and hence the possibility of renewal afterwards. Okay, so Ra-Hor-Khuit, active side of Horus, represented as a figure in a throne behind the larger figure. Okay, yeah, that's pretty obvious. So let me display that here. Yeah, it's the figure that you can see through Horus too, or it's the figure behind Horus. It is the non-translucent figure, this Ra-Hor-Khuit. But it still is Horus in a sense, in that it is the active side of Horus. And it says he has the double wand of power in his right hand, and in his left hand, or his left hand is empty as he has crushed the universe and nothing remains. So again, he has the double wand of power in his right hand, and his left hand is empty as he has crushed the universe and nothing remains. This implies the ending of an era and hence the possibility of renewal afterwards. So I'm sure it's pretty obvious, at least to some, what this is getting at here, the ending of an era and the beginning of the Aeon of Horus. All right, let's see. In summary, the child Horus is born who is solar in character, represented by the solar light around him. He dispels the darkness of Nuit, and hence we have this cycle of time. Both night and day are therefore represented as being ruled by these Egyptian deities, and they are further linked to the meaning of the Aeon card: cycles, beginnings, and endings, whether they be in our daily life or spiritual life. So the energy of fire ruling the Aeon card is active in many levels in the life of the spiritual seeker. That was a lot to take in, so let's go over it again. In summary, the child Horus is born who is solar in character, represented by the solar light around him, which we've seen countless times already with the golden glow and all that. He dispels the darkness of Nuit, feminine counterpart to Hadit. Could say, I guess, the mother of Horus, essentially. So he dispels the darkness of Nuit, and hence we have this cycle of time. Both night and day are therefore represented as being ruled by these Egyptian deities, and they are further linked to the meaning of the Aeon card: cycles, beginnings, and endings, whether they be in our daily life or spiritual life. So the energy of fire ruling the Aeon card is active in many levels in the life of the spiritual seeker. So the energy of fire ruling the Aeon card is active in many levels in the life of the spiritual seeker. And it's also interesting to note that I guess in some interpretations, from what I have heard, the element of fire in tarot and perhaps in astrology and stuff like that as well has been said to represent the human spirit, essentially. And yet, in other interpretations, the idea is that there's really a quintessence or fifth element that is human spirit, and fire remains our will, our drive, our action-oriented tendencies, stuff like that, inspiration, perhaps. Although if you really want to get technical about it, inspiration, you break that word down, it has to do with the idea of spirit, like in spirit or something like that. But regardless, it's just interesting to consider the different interpretations. So, Sun to Aeon Tarot transition. This transition is about giving up the attachment to having an individual sense of self and becoming a more universal, more simple, more profound sense of who we are. Giving up on our small sense of quote-unquote self is not enlightenment, merely a shift to a more universal sense of self, centering ourselves in higher rather than lower mind, and yet still in mind. It may, however, make the process of letting go of all attachments easier, and thus easier to prepare ourselves for enlightenment to be given. So let us first burn and observe the two cards here, talking about the transition. And then I will reread that so that it really sinks in. We will go over it again. Okay. So this transition is about giving up the attachment to having an individual sense of self and becoming a more universal, more simple, more profound sense of who we are. Giving up on our small sense of self is not enlightenment, merely a shift to a more universal sense of self, centering ourselves in higher rather than lower mind, and yet still in mind. It may, however, make the process of letting go of all attachments easier, and thus easier to prepare ourselves for enlightenment to be given. That's so interesting, especially considering the card following this, the world or the universe. Which, unless I'm missing something, is, we're going to find out next week, representative of, indeed, finally, enlightenment. So let's think about this, though. So giving up the attachment to having an individual sense of self and becoming more universal, simple, profound sense of who we are. Huh. So yeah, giving up the ego and the illusion of the ego. That, again, this is a theme we've had for numerous cards now, and we really saw it in like the Tower card, but here it's coming up again. Really giving up that attachment to an individual sense of self or ego. Because the basic idea is that when you're no longer identified with the false self of the ego, then the true self can shine through. The true individuality can shine through that. But it's interesting how it points out that alone is not enlightenment, instead merely a shift to a more universal sense of self. Interesting. So there's a distinction. It's making a distinction between disidentification with the ego and enlightenment. It's saying they are not, in fact, one and the same, which is probably accurate. So let us proceed now to Thoth Aeon Tarot card divinatory meanings. Upright. 1. A decision which has a major impact on your life. Examples would include lifestyle, career, or relationship changes. In the upright position, these changes would be positive. 2. Also life-changing experiences, which may be spiritual or a near-death experience. These have a major impact on our life, which forces a change in perspective and the birth of a new self. 3. Time to move on from a situation after seeing the bigger picture of things, so we have endings and new beginnings. 4. Taking time out to review your life timeline and seeing what changes have happened over time and how you have grown, reviewing the bigger picture. 5. A natural period of growth where you are experiencing a deepening. Wait, what's this supposed to say? I think it's supposed to say a deepening. So a natural period of growth where you're experiencing a deepening in your understanding of yourself and the world around you. A time of deep change, reflection, and evolution of your spiritual awareness. You may also be letting go of friends and structures which are no longer serving you. Reversed. 1. Decisions which have a negative impact on your life, which may involve self-destructive habits, addiction, poor career choices, or poor choices in relationships, unable to let go of that which no longer serves your growth. 2. Trauma and psychological issues hampering your positive decision-making and being able to move forward. 3. Repeating the same destructive life cycles without taking stock and learning from your experiences. Yes. This card reversed. Lessons unlearned. That sure does come to mind. That rings a bell. So now we have Thoth Aeon Tarot card in the Celtic Cross spread. So as usual, this is going to describe what this card might mean when it shows up in some of the various positions of the Celtic Cross spread, this particular version of the Celtic Cross spread, which I will show here. Now, this is not how I read the Celtic Cross spread. This is not how I do a Celtic Cross, but it is what we have on this website, and there's many different ways, and honestly, my advice is you pick the way that's right for you. The way that I read it is mostly similar to this, but there are some key differences. Okay. So, if it appears in position 1, the heart of the situation, it may mean a cycle of your life is ending and a new one beginning. The rest of the spread determines how easy this may be. If it appears in position 2, possible obstacle, resistance to change, clinging on to the past, ideals. If it appears in position 3, subconscious influence, psychological issues/trauma preventing you from moving on to a new period in your life. If it appears in position 4, the past, could have had a life-changing experience, health, relationship, family, which has made you what you are now. If it appears in position 5, hopes and goals, to have stability and not have continuous big upheavals. If it appears in position 6, immediate future, go with the flow of change, letting go of the old and trusting in the new for your personal growth. If it appears in position 7, self-image, could be that you resist change and fear the unknown. If it appears in position 8, environment, one of change, growth, and learning. If it appears in position 9, guidance and warning, repeating the same destructive life cycles without taking stock and learning from your experiences, the need to stand back and assess, but also be able to go with the flow. If it appears in position 10, overall outcome, new phases of your life to bring you closer to your spiritual source and strengthening your personal/spiritual development. All right, and that concludes the esoteric meanings article on the Thoth version of this card, the Aeon. So, I'm gonna be taking a break here very soon to feast upon lunch. Then I'll return with part 2, where we will look into these matters much more. We'll look more at the Rider-Waite version of it, the Judgement card. We'll look more at the Thoth version, the Aeon card, and we'll look still at more surfacey and more deep and esoteric meanings and interpretations of the card, and hopefully really dive in to this card even more so it really like sinks in, although we've certainly done quite a bit of that already. So it should be a lot of fun. Let's just see here. Okay, we're looking good. Dang, this resonates so much. An intense Kundalini awakening started a cycle of harsh lessons, dead ends, and slow, painful growth. I finally feel at the end of an era. Thank you so much, man. If I'm not here when you get back, this really clarified why this card's been coming for me. Oh, I'm happy to hear that. Well, thank you so much for being here, and thanks everyone for being here. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that would explain why it's most likely been coming up for you so much. The end of an era and the beginning of a new era. Especially, I mean, I don't know if you're using the Thoth version or the Rider-Waite version, but I think the Thoth version especially is going to talk about the end of an era and the beginning of a new era. But probably the Judgment card would as well. Or, the Rider-Waite version, I mean. Let's see. All right, so again, thank you guys for being here. I'll be back soon. Thanks to Lumen, and thanks Ryan, and thanks again, Liz Porter. Thanks to everyone else and everyone who watches this when I'm not live. I'll be back in approximately an hour and a half. So you can join me there if you would like. Otherwise, as always, that stream, along with this stream, will be saved to my YouTube channel. You can always check it out after if you would like. All right. So thanks again so much. And again, it feels great to be back. And I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.